In this first video, I want to talk about what different equations look like uh, and what their graphs will look like in comparison. And then maybe we'll get into some of the information that we'll finish in the next video. So if I have y equals 2x plus 5, to determine what the graph's going to look like, we need to look at the x. If the x is to the power of 1, which just a regular x would be, so this is the same thing as saying y equals 2x to the first plus 5, because there's only indicating one x there. Now, when you've got a situation like this, regardless of whether it's written like this or it's written like 3x plus 2y equals 7, this is slope-intercept form, this is standard form. Regardless, we're looking at that x. We're not so concerned about the y, we're looking at the x. These are all straight lines. Now, if we have one where it looks like, we'll do this first, x squared minus 2. Now we still look at the x, and if the x has a 2, that's going to be a parabola. So it's going to look something like that. Now, we also have a parabola the equation could look like this. Now remember, this square goes with this whole thing. So that's going to make the x squared here. So this also is a parabola. Now, the last type is when you have, and you look for the x and you're like, well, I don't see it. But then all of a sudden it's up here. That's exponential. So we have linear, which is a straight line. A parabola, which the equation part is called quadratic. Keep pushing my mouse button. So this shape is called a parabola, quadratic equation. Linear is a line. And then this one is called exponential. And so this would be just like on linear, we've got a starting value that's there, and then this would be considered the slope. We have the same thing here. This 2 would be considered the starting value, and then you would multiply by the 3 each time to get those numbers. So that's just an overview of what an equation looks like. When you first look at an equation, you should have some idea of what it looks like in your head. And just for reference, exponential will look something like that. And it will approach a number, a lot of times it's 0, will approach a number, but it will never cross that number. So like this graph here appears to be getting closer and closer to 0, but it will never go into the negative numbers. So just to start off, let's look at a linear equation. Let's look at y equals negative 2x plus 1. So if I come over here and I make a graph, let's see if I can do that in darker black. And this ought to be fun. And we make a graph. And remember, this is the starting value at 0. So we're going to go up to 1. Put a point there. And then we have this -2. And remember, we need that to be a fraction, so we're going to go down 2 and to the right 1. So from +1, we'll go down 2, which will put us here, and then over 1, and then down 2 and over 1, down 2 and over 1, down 2 and over 1. As you can start to see the pattern, we can also go the other way. We could go up 2 and to the right 1. Actually, to the left, sorry. So that's the difference between the way this slope is written is down 2 and to the right 1. But if I did 2 divided by -1, this would be up 2 left towards the negative side. This is down because it's negative, and this is right. So they both still equal -2 as long as you've only got one negative. If they were both negative, that would be the same thing as a positive. So this creates a line. Oh boy. It's hard for me to do this while I'm going to erase that stuff. Okay. So let's see if I can get on that line. Anyway, it's going to make a line not really like that, but more along the points. And one thing that we notice is that this part of the graph right here, down to here, is on the positive side of the y. So these y values here are positive, and then these y values down here are negative. So when you're talking about positive or negative, you're looking at the x values where the y's are positive. So this would be like, since this arrow means we're going to infinity, this would be -infinity out here, down to somewhere at like 1 or a half or something like that, probably a half, would be positive. And then everything from a half to positive infinity would be negative. So even though this is -infinity up here, it's still above, these y values are still positive, and these y values down here are negative. So what I want you to do before you get to the next video is I want you to take this and I want you to graph that. So you can make a table. So you could make an XY table. And you could say if x was 0, what would happen? 0 squared would be 0 plus 2, that's going to be 2. So make kind of get an idea of what your graph might be based on a table, and know that this is a parabola because this right, the x is squared. And then we'll pick up on the next video.